Hi everyone, I'm Phil Sutcliffe. I'm managing partner at Next Intelligence. We're the company behind Inca, the conversational survey platform that's designed to deliver much better, more engaging experiences for survey participants and to deliver deeper insights for researchers.
Hi everyone, my name is Josh Seltzer. I'm the CTO at Next Intelligence. I'm also our data protection officer and I lead up our AI R&D. And I have several publications related to large language models and computer vision and everything related to AI.
So I'm going to pivot slightly in the conversation, but I think we'll probably come back to a similar point. And we can't escape the fact that synthetic data solutions are increasingly being used in market research. And to date,
Mhm.
the two main use cases for synthetic data have been firstly, data augmentation to fill in gaps in survey data, and secondly, synthetic personas, which are typically data-informed profiles from previous customer research, allowing marketing and insights people to ask questions of the synthetic version of their customer segments. And I can see value in each of those use cases, but what we're starting to see more of, and I guess what concerns me a lot, is when I see companies who are saying they can completely replace survey participants with AI respondents or synthetic sample. And I can understand where that comes from. If people are thinking, well, actually, we've not got real people, we've not got 100% real people in surveys anyway, and we're being told that we don't need them because we can replace them with synthetic participants, then, and it's quicker and it's cheaper, then again, that's a very attractive sell to some buyers of market research. But we're kind of back to the promise of quick and cheap insight again, and certainly not better. Um, so, there are obvious and major issues with the idea of synthetic respondents being used to completely answer surveys, but it'd be good if you could talk to some of those, Josh.
Yeah, and it's a really good question. I mean, large language models, it's honestly a fascinating technology for synthetic data. And in the right time and place, it has a lot of value. But there are also a lot of nuances, which I hope these companies are taking seriously and educating their users about. So for me, the most important thing to understand about synthetic data that's being produced by LLMs is that it can be extremely plausibly human looking. But plausible is not the same as accurate or representative. And in fact, this is a really significant risk as far as I'm concerned because synthetic data is essentially optimized to seem legitimate, even if it's substantially misrepresenting the kinds of insights that you would actually get if you spoke to these real people. In some cases, plausible and accurate might be the same, and that's where it makes sense to leverage synthetic data. But to give a few examples, here are some of the situations in which synthetic data can really steer you wrong. So one would be measuring variance and correlations. LLMs really excel at generating text which resembles the mean or the average of the data that it was trained on, like the most typical sort of response. But they're less good at reproducing the underlying distribution of data. And so if you need to do, or you would need to do a lot of extra work in order to get an accurate representation of the full variance and all the actual correlations that you would get if you looked at real people, especially if you're looking at edge cases. The second issue is representing minority groups. So text on the internet is predominantly weird, as in Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. And since LLMs tend to reproduce texts which have been most frequently mentioned, well, you can hopefully see where this is going. And I've seen synthetic market research data claiming to represent minority groups, and I can tell you it's not. The best word that I can use to describe it is non-representative and really unethical. The third issue is related to data provenance and what's called the dead internet theory. So this originally started almost 10 years ago as somewhat of a conspiracy theory, but it's turned out to be quite prophetic, as perhaps you've noticed that online texts are increasingly AI generated. And if you think about it, large language models are trained on online texts. And so in the future, models trained on online data aren't necessarily going to represent true human experience and expression. The jury's still a bit out on this one, but there are a lot of experts who suspect that this is going to be an increasingly problematic issue in the years to come. A fourth problem is understanding emerging trends for new categories or new products, and this kind of connects to the last point. So because large language models are reproducing existing texts, and since new texts which are appearing online may also be AI generated, it's really unclear to what extent we can rely on synthetic data to predict new trends. Especially, if you have a brand new category or product that you're trying to understand people's opinions about, the things that existing language models have been trained on isn't necessarily going to be representative. And then a fifth major issue, which I'll mention, is if you're testing stimuli that's unrelated to vision and audio and language. So when it comes to sensory modalities, like in particular smell or touch, which haven't been digitized at all, these are entirely inaccessible to large language models. So for example, synthetic data may say something very plausible sounding about the way that a new toothpaste feels in your mouth, but that doesn't mean it actually reflects what real humans would experience in any way. If you introduce a new chemical which produces a mint-like sensation, but don't explicitly tell that to the LLM, there's obviously no way for an LLM to detect that.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpick there, and I think what you said, and particularly I think a couple of things you said kind of really struck a chord with me. So one is the fact that the LLM or the synthetic respondents will sort of represent the mean well, but not the diversity within a population is, kind of contradictory to where we find insight in market research in my experience most of the time. A lot of the insight comes from the edge cases or looking at the people that are different to the mean. And particularly importantly, when you have another point you made about new trends, that's about people who are behaving differently, people who have emergent behaviors which aren't part of the mainstream. So again, missing out on that whole part is you're really kind of missing out on a key source of insight if you're trying to build and identify kind of innovation workflows, for example. And I think this idea of the data itself that's being inputted into large language models potentially being more and more AI generated, it just kind of seems we're ending up the natural endpoint of this feels like the computer is going to be generating the survey, and it's going to be giving that survey to computer generated respondents who themselves have been trained on data that has been generated by the computer. So it's we're getting a long way from the role of market research, which is to find insights about people that inform strategy and decisions that are going to create better products and services for people.
Yeah, and I mean, like at least right now, synthetic data, you can kind of make the claim that it's still representative of humans since it's been trained on human data. But increasingly, that's not necessarily the case. So even if there is sort of human in the loop at the moment, that's less and less going to be the case in the years to come.
Yeah, and obviously, we're not saying we can discount this completely. We kind of understand with any source of information that is very quick and very cheap, there's going to be an attraction for that. And maybe, there are many people who will feel to be 80% right or even 60% right is better than having no data at all. And I can see that there are times when there are potential use cases, for example, in rapid screening of lots of concepts or creative to whittle down ideas and then be able to test a few ideas with real people to see what they think and test them and optimize them. Or in scenario planning, maybe where some quick directional input is needed fast and is better than no input at all. But it does seem that for the big investment decisions where there's big financial big strategic risk, that's where robust, accurate data is needed. And that's where businesses and organizations get a competitive edge by understanding consumers and their motivations in depth and scale. And that's surely where we will still need accurate survey research. And that's back to where we started, I guess. That's, that requires real verified participants taking engaging surveys. So I think if I was to conclude, I think my hope for the future is that there is a focus on better as much as quicker and cheaper. And that if synthetic sample is being used for quicker and cheaper. It's done so with a full understanding of the limitations of that, and that businesses really also maybe use some of the money they save from that to invest in better. And for survey research, better means surveys with real verified people, but surveys that people actually want to take, surveys that feel like conversations, not like chores, surveys that build trust and build empathy. And that's what we're doing with Inca conversational surveys. We're still measuring all the data points, opinions you'd have in any survey, but we're also discovering perspectives, emotions, and experiences at scale. And if anyone watching would like to know more about that, please get in touch.